There's a mental image I've been entertaining since the new year started. In it, I'm standing in my home library. You know, the one with the late afternoon light streaming through the windows? I'm wearing something comfortable, maybe that red mock turtleneck that I love. I'm reaching to place a photo album on the shelf where the school yearbooks, scrapbooks, and other photo albums live. This is not just any photo album. It is the photo album, the one I've been writing with my life for the past 42 years. And here's what's interesting. In that vision, I'm smiling, not the exhausted smile of someone who's finally done, the peaceful smile of someone who's choosing completion. There are two paths ahead of me in this mental image. In one, I reach back up someday, open that photo album again, and put some more pictures in it. In the other, I just walk past that shelf sometimes, see the spine, and think, man, that was a good run. And you know what? Both feel absolutely right. Today, we're going to talk about something that might be the most important skill you'll need in 2026. And it has nothing to do with learning the latest AI tool or mastering a new clinical technique. And fair warning, I'm going to make some changes to how I practice in 2026 and what I spend my time on. Because sometimes the best way to teach something is to actually live it.
Welcome to the Doctor's Mentor Show. If the right to practice medicine without interference is important, and you want expert tips for practice freedom and profits to support your epic life, welcome aboard and prepare to be blown away. The Doctor's Mentor Show starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Lori Barr.
Today, we're going to talk about something that might be the most important skill you'll need in 2026, and it has nothing to do with learning the latest AI tool or mastering a new clinical technique. We're talking about strategic disengagement. First, a definition. For the purposes of this podcast, disengagement means permanently withdrawing from something or someone, ending something. Let's start with a story you're probably living right now. You're good at something, really good. Maybe it's a particular procedure. Maybe it's running a certain type of practice. Maybe it's being the go-to expert in your community or even in the whole world for a specific condition. And because you're good at it, you keep doing it. Even though, and here's where I want you to fill in the blank. Even though what? Because you're good at it, you keep doing it even though it drains you? Even though you dread Monday mornings? Even though you're only doing it for the income, if you're really honest? Even though it stopped challenging you years ago? I just finished listening to Jenna Kutcher's final podcast episode, and I want you to listen to it too, right after you finish this one. So it's linked in the show notes. For those who don't know her, she's been running one of the top business podcasts for nearly a decade, 968 episodes, a whole library of information. And she just stopped. Not because she failed, not because she burned out, not because the podcast wasn't successful. It was a 7-figure revenue stream. She stopped at 968 episodes, not the nice round 1,000, 968. And you know what she said? She almost pushed through to 1,000 because, well, 1,000 sounds better, doesn't it? It's a number you'd put on a trophy. But then she realized that the voice telling her to push for the round number, that's exactly the voice she was trying to stop listening to. The one that says achievement matters more than alignment, that impressive matters more than true, that more is always better. Here's what I want you to understand. The pattern of staying in things because you're good at them, not because you love them, is probably running your practice right now and maybe your whole career. I know this intimately. You want to know something funny? I wanted to be a veterinarian from the time I was 2 years old, and I'm really good with animals. I spent every summer as a child at our family farm in North Alabama, raising chickens to calves and everything in between through joys and tragedies. Lived in my muck boots, smelled like the hayfield constantly. until the ninth grade. And guess what? That whole time, and it's still to this day, I hate the smell and the mess of body fluids like dog drool and cow patties. I don't feel good about putting animals to sleep for good. In the ninth grade, I became a veterinary explorer through the Boy Scouts Co-ed Explorers program because I was good with animals. And that is how I found my first career mentor, a local veterinarian in Metairie who let us shadow him one evening a month all school year. Finally, in May, the last month of the program, I got my first real awakening about staying in something you're good at, even if. It was euthanasia night. It was heartbreaking. These animals were sick and could not be cured. I stayed, and I learned something valuable. Finally, when my father came to pick me up, I told him, "Daddy, if I become a vet, I'm going to wind up with a bunch of animals on the farm that need euthanized, but I don't have the heart to do it, and I'll probably just be broke." That's the trap. Staying in something you're good at, even if it. Fill in your own emotion here. And in medicine, this trap is everywhere. You're excellent at a procedure, so you keep doing it, even though you'd rather be doing something else, learning a new one, creating a new one. You built your practice around a model that worked great 10 years ago, so you keep it, even though it's not the life you want. You're known for being available 24/7, so you stay available, even though it's destroying your family time. The question isn't, can you keep doing this? The question is this what you actually want to keep doing? And here's where it gets really interesting from a neuroscience perspective. There is hard research that supports specific disengagement techniques that lead to a healthy, less stressful letting go of unattainable, undesirable, and inevitable outcomes like death. And that's why we are going to dissect Jenna Kutcher's podcast here and examine the healthy processes she uses to manage disengagement. At the beginning of the podcast, she likens her 968 episode podcast to a book that she is choosing to put on a shelf. And by the end of the episode, she states she doesn't know if she will open the book, her podcast again, or leave it on the shelf. This is called goal shelving, or temporarily withdrawing from a less desirable goal. In their 2022 paper, Meyer and Freund showed that when goals conflict, shelving the less desirable goal leads to better engagement with the goal that is prioritized, while avoiding wasted energy on regret if, in contrast, one chooses permanent withdrawal, aka disengagement. So one more time there. If you have two conflicting goals and one is less desirable, if you just put it on the shelf, knowing that you can, if you want, and pick it up later, that leads to better engagement with the goal you keep prioritized, rather than choosing to permanently kick that second goal to the can instead of shelving it. Jenna then spends time talking about how she came to her decision to stop podcasting, which is a great case study in using a technique that's called mental contrasting. We'll go through the 3 steps in just a minute. Mental contrasting works equally well for both goal attainment and goal disengagement, as described in over a decade of work by Eddingen and colleagues. Stay with me now. This is going to change how you think about every decision you make from this point forward, and we're going to go in depth in the next episode with this even more. Mental contrasting has 3 steps. Number 1, identify your desired future. Number 2, visualize the best outcome. Number 3, identify the critical obstacle. Now here's the key. When the obstacle is surmountable, when you can overcome it, mental contrasting energizes you toward the goal. Your blood pressure actually goes up. Associative links form in your brain, connecting the future to the pathway. But when the obstacle is insurmountable, when it can't be overcome, or when the cost of overcoming it is too high, something fascinating happens. Mental contrasting helps you actively disengage. Your blood pressure goes down. The associative links dissolve. You cognitively, emotionally, and behaviorally let go. This is not passive giving up. This is active disengagement. This is programming your nervous system to unconsciously and automatically disengage you. Strategic disengagement. When you're listening to Jenna's podcast, you can hear her describe how she felt as she stepped through this process. Now let me give you a medical example. Desired future. Step 1, right? Desired future. Keep running a solo medical or dental practice or chiropractic practice exactly as you have for 21 years. Best outcome. Financial security, autonomy, and patient relationships. Critical obstacle. You're 51. You want to see your grandchildren more than twice a year, and the administrative burden is crushing you. And it's only getting worse with the regulatory changes. Is that obstacle surmountable? Maybe. You could hire more staff, implement new systems, and push harder. Or you could recognize the obstacle as a signal that it's time to mentally contrast your way into a different model. Maybe a partnership, maybe selling to a group, maybe an AI-augmented concierge model that sees fewer patients at a higher value. The obstacle isn't the problem. The obstacle is the information. And here's what I'm learning about myself. I've spent a lot of years recognizing obstacles and then bulldozing through them anyway, because that's what high performers do, right? Except that's not always wise. Sometimes wisdom is recognizing this obstacle is telling me something, not that I can't do it, but that I might be really close to a better alternative I haven't considered. Because here's what nobody tells you about medical practice. Your first practice model is never your final practice model. And that leads us to the question that terrifies every high achiever. If I let go of this thing I'm good at, who am I? So let's talk about what happened when Jenna Kutcher told people she was stopping her podcast. Her brother, he's the guy who gave her first microphone almost a decade ago. He just smiled and said, "That's awesome, Jenna." He got it immediately, not because he didn't care about the podcast, but because he knew her well enough to know every time she made this kind of change, every time she freed up space, that's when her next evolution happened. Some of her friends and family, though, shocked silence, profound silence, and even denial, because they were watching her step away from something successful, from a place of peace, not panic, from choice, not crisis. And that's not the model we usually see, especially not for women in professional fields. We see people leave when they burn out. We see them fail. We see them with their backs against the wall, and that's when they leave, or when they have no choice. We almost never see someone at the height of their success say, "Hey, I'm done with this chapter," not because it's bad, but because it's complete. And you know what? In medicine, we don't see this much either. We see doctors retire because they physically can't keep going. We see them sell their practices because insurance companies finally broke them. We see them close their doors because the regulations or the risk management makes it feel impossible. We see them commit suicide. Yes, sadly, 1 in 6 physicians contemplate suicide. What we almost never see is a doctor at the peak of their career saying, "I've built something that works beautifully, and now I'm going to intentionally redesign it, not because I have to, but because I want to." After 42 years of reading millions of images on thousands of patients, after 42 years of mentoring high school students, college students, and medical students, residents and fellows and practicing professionals, after publishing over 100 peer-reviewed papers and a best-selling book, what do you imagine that I've been thinking about lately? What if the ultimate measure of success isn't adding more to that list? What if it's having the freedom to choose what goes on the list? What if it's having built systems so robust that I can step back from certain things and they keep working? Jenna said something that really landed with me. She said, "I made the podcast work so well that it could run without me. And then I chose to step back from it anyway, not because the system failed, but because the system succeeded." She's still running a multi-million-dollar business. She's still serving her community. She's just not doing it through a podcast anymore. The work continues, the impact continues, but the channel changed. Because, and this is crucial, disengagement from a channel is not the same as disengagement from your purpose. You can stop doing something you're excellent at and still live your purpose. In fact, sometimes you must stop the thing you're excellent at to make room for what you're meant for. Now I'm going to get vulnerable with you for a second. I've been in private practice since 1999. Before that, I was in academics at the University of Cincinnati, tenure track, the whole deal. I've led imaging departments. I've built children's hospitals. I've created educational programs. I've standardized protocols that protect children across multiple hospital systems all over this country. And here's what I've been entertaining. I've done that. I've built that. The systems are in place. They're working. So what if 2026 is the year I ask a different question? Not, what more can I build? Instead, what wants to emerge in the space I create? I'm not leaving radiology. I'm not abandoning the practice, but I am paying attention to this pull toward simplification, toward letting some things that worked in 2020 and in 2025 complete, so that what wants to happen in 2026 has room to breathe. And part of what I'll be sharing more about later this year involves a fundamental shift in how I practice. Here's a hint. It involves a lot more AI doing what it can do brilliantly, so I can do more of what only humans can do. But we'll get to that. First, I want to talk about something the psychology research shows is absolutely critical to successful disengagement: closure. Because here's what most people get wrong. They think disengagement means walking away, just dropping it and moving on. That's not strategic disengagement. That's abandonment. And it leaves wreckage. Strategic disengagement requires what the research calls well-rounded endings. In a 2020 study by Schwarer and colleagues, people who felt a sense of closure, a genuine feeling that they'd done everything they could, experienced more positive affect, less regret, and smoother transitions into their next phase. They even found that just by being reminded of an upcoming ending, not running from it, not denying it, but acknowledging it, improved focus and performance on subsequent tasks. In other words, acknowledging endings helps you engage more fully in beginnings. Jenna's final podcast is a great example of an effective way to craft a well-rounded ending. Think about well-rounded endings in the context of your practice. How many relationships are you holding open that actually concluded years ago and you never created closure? How many policies and standard operating procedures, both documented and those that are unwritten, are you maintaining because you started them, even though they don't fit how you practice now? How many professional identities are you clinging to because they were important at one time, or maybe they're even important now, even though they're not aligned with who you're becoming? Now, becoming is an important word because in order to scale, you have to become a different version of you than what got you to where you are now. So here's what closure looks like in practice. For that procedure that you're great at but dread, you train someone else. You document your protocols. You create a succession plan. You mark the last time you do it with the intention, not bitterness, but gratitude. This served my patients and me well, and now it's complete. For that administrative role that you don't really need to be doing, you find your replacement. You ensure a smooth transition. You celebrate what was accomplished during your tenure. You close that chapter cleanly so the next person can write theirs. For that practice model that worked but no longer fits, you honor what it created, the income, the impact, the growth. You grieve what you're leaving behind because that's healthy. And then you close it completely, rather than trying to maintain it while simultaneously building something new. One of the most dangerous things high performers do is try to do both. Keep the old thing running at 80% while building the new thing at 80%. Do you know what that equals? 160% effort for 90% results. Strategic disengagement says, complete this. close it with honor, create the space, then build the next thing with full presence. And that brings us to maybe the most important question. What do you do with the space you create? Jenna said something that caught me completely off guard. She said her plan for all the time she's freeing up is, I don't know. She's open to the magic of whatever comes. She talked about going to see her therapist and being open to the magic of whatever comes next, rather than trying to plan for filling that space. And my opportunity spotting, high-performing entrepreneurial brain just about short-circuited, because I'm someone who, when I get an idea, I typically am 100 miles per hour toward implementing it. That served me incredibly well in building practices, standardizing processes, and launching initiatives. But here's what I'm learning. Sometimes the highest and best use of freed space is not filling it. Sometimes it's entertaining the I don't know and seeing what magic emerges. There's this fascinating phenomenon in the research called integration periods. It's the time between intensive therapy sessions or major learning experiences where you don't actively process, you just live. And those integration periods, they're when the biggest change happens, because you're not trying to make something happen. You're allowing yourself to become. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I'm thinking it too. That's lovely, Dr. Barr, but I have a practice to run, patients to see, bills to pay. I can't just sit in spaciousness and wait for magic to emerge. You're right, you can't. But here's the thing. Strategic disengagement isn't about creating all your spaciousness at once. It's about creating pockets of it, protected pockets. Let me give you a very practical example. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, then you know my parents were both critically injured in a motor vehicle accident in 2017. Now, I'm an only child, and for many years, even before that, I was driving all over Austin, covering 12 plus different hospitals and our outpatient imaging centers we owned. I was good at it. It was profitable. I could handle the volume. After their accident, I spent even more time in North Alabama assisting them than I had before, and I'd go up and spend a lot of time with my parents. Back and forth from Austin, flying to Nashville, driving to Florence, and back again to wash, rinse, and repeat the driving around Austin from San Marcos to Cedar Park Circuit, and then back to the Austin airport to go back to Alabama. After several years of this, when I really looked at it through the lens of mental contrasting, here's what it looked like. Desired future. Continue this pace indefinitely while also being present for my family in North Alabama and scaling the Doctor's Mentor LLC. Best outcome. High income, broad impact, professional reputation, all the while my parents get to age in place in Alabama, no institutions. Critical obstacle. The pace is unsustainable, and it's preventing me from doing the deep work I'm being pulled toward. Insurmountable? Not technically. I could hire more people, create more systems, and push harder. But why would I? So I started strategic disengagement from some of those commitments and from some other commitments to my mentoring business and to my podcasts. Not all, not overnight, but deliberately, with proper transitions, creating closure. And what emerged in that space? A move to Pensacola right at the start of COVID, where I could cocoon and entertain the I don't know that followed my decisions. Less driving, less flying, few overnight and weekend calls, time to get educated on AI so I could develop workflows to assist me as an individual and as a diagnostic imaging professional at a totally AI-forward national radiology practice where we develop AI integrations that are now being used across multiple health systems. Time to mentor medical students, residents, and early career radiologists in ways that actually move the needle in their careers. Time to think deeply about what the future of radiology actually needs, rather than just responding to today's urgency. That's what spaciousness creates. But here's the key. I had to protect it. Because the moment you create space, the world will try to fill it. And I allowed my new environment to fill it to the brim. Another leadership role, another speaking engagement, another committee, another revenue opportunity, another quick project. And if you let those in, you're right back where you started, just with a different set of commitments. So, in 2026, my word for this year is runway. See, the mental clarity exercise is to an individual as a runway is to a plane. Think of the mental clarity exercise as a transitional space. It is both a place of closure, just like when a plane lands bringing you home after a trip, and a place of beginnings, just like when a plane takes off to carry you on your next adventure. Both the mental clarity exercise and the runway are associated with protected space. A good bit of protected space. I mean, think about it. The shorter the runway, the more exciting or stressful the takeoff and the landing. Protecting spaciousness means having clear criteria for what gets to fill it. For me, the question is becoming, is this thing pulling me forward or am I pushing toward it? If I have to convince myself it's a good idea, it's probably not for me right now. If I have to push aside resistance and force myself to say yes, it's a no. Yet, if something emerges naturally, if it feels like a yes in my body, in my heart, in my gut, not just in my brain, and if it creates energy rather than depletes it, that's what gets invited into my space. Now, let me be very tactical for a minute because I know some of you are thinking about your own practices. Here is your action step. I'm calling it the spaciousness audit. Black out 30 minutes this week. Look at your calendar for the past month. For each major time block, ask 4 questions. Here's question number 1. Did this drain me or energize me? Question number 2. Am I doing this because I'm good at it or because I love it? Question number 3. If I disengaged from this, would the impact I care about disappear or would it continue through another means? Number 4. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how aligned is this with where I want to be in 5 years? So here's how to score your spaciousness audit. If for question number 1, the answer was draining instead of energizing, or if for question number 2, the answer was you kept doing it because you were good at it and not because you loved it, or if the answer to question number 3 was that the impact would continue, or if the question to number 4 was below a 7 on alignment, then that activity is a candidate for strategic disengagement. Now, you don't have to disengage from all of them immediately, yet it pays to make a strategic disengagement plan. Because here's what I know to be true after 42 years of radiology practice. The ultimate luxury in medical practice isn't a fancy office or expensive equipment. It's not bleeding edge technology. It's freedom of choice. It's having built your systems, your team, your reputation so well that you could keep going exactly as you are, and you're choosing something different anyway. Not from scarcity, from abundance. Not from failure, from success. Not from burnout, from alignment. And that brings me to the final piece of this framework, the piece that might surprise you most. So here's where we connect disengagement to what I'm calling the AI forward pivot. See, strategic disengagement isn't really about doing less. It's about doing the right things. And AI is going to force all of us to answer one question. What are the right things for humans to do? I've been a radiology practice leader for over 2 decades. I've standardized protocols, I've created quality improvement programs, I've enforced policies, and you know what? AI can now do some of that work better than I can. Not all of it, but some of it. AI can catch fractures a radiologist might miss when distracted by interruptions or in the final stretch of a long work shift. AI can standardize reporting to reduce variability and improve clinician satisfaction with our expertise. AI can triage studies, so I see the critical ones first. And here's the question that led to a major revelation for me. If AI can do those things, what should I be doing instead? What are the irreplaceable human skills that actually create value? For me, the answer is teaching the next generation of doctors, dentists, and chiropractors to create the space to build a meaningful relationship with their patients and to deeply understand how the body heals, so they learn how to stimulate healing rather than just recognizing that there's something wrong. Bringing clinical expertise to AI development so the tools actually serve patients. Designing AI-forward systems that give doctors spaces to maximize the power of their thoughts, their voice, and their actions as effective stimuli for healing themselves and their patients. Those things require judgment, creativity, systems thinking, and decades of experience. Those things AI can't do, at least not yet, and probably not better than I can. So here's the strategic disengagement pivot. I'm letting go of the parts of radiology practice that AI can do as well as or better than me. And I'm leaning into the parts that only a human with 35 plus years of experience can do. That's not less work, it's different work. It's not doing less, it's doing what matters most. And it's going to require me to let go of some professional identities I've held for a very long time. Like, I'm the skeletal dysplasia expert. Maybe AI analyzes the images and matches them up with the most likely syndrome much faster than I can. I'm the radiologist reading efficiently in flow for the next 100 cases. Maybe AI pre-reads 80 of them, and I spend more time reading the 20 that need human judgment. I'm available 24/7. Maybe AI provides a pre-read and determines there are no critical findings, and I'm available for the complex cases that actually need me. I do everything myself to ensure quality. Maybe I build the systems and train the AI, and quality improves because I'm not the bottleneck. This is what I mean by an AI-forward practice. It's not AI replaces doctors. It's AI handles what it's brilliant at, so doctors can focus on what requires human wisdom and adds value. And here's where it connects to strategic disengagement. You can't build an AI-forward practice if you're still trying to do everything the old way. You have to let go of some things that worked in 2015 to make room for what will work in 2026. And that requires the exact same mental contrasting process we've been talking about. Desired future. Maintain my current practice volume and approach. Best outcome. Continued income and impact. Critical obstacle. There aren't enough hours in the day to do it all well, and I'm saying no to opportunities that actually excite me. Is that obstacle surmountable? Sure. Work more hours, sacrifice more personal time, push harder, or recognize the obstacle as information. It's time for a different model, time for a pivot.
Your next step.
Which brings me to what I'm building in 2026 and what I hope you'll build with me. I'm going to be very direct with you. This episode isn't just about the concept of strategic disengagement. It's about strategic disengagement as the foundation for what comes next. Because you can't build an AI-forward practice if you're buried under a practice model from 2010. You can't create spaciousness for innovation if you're drowning in commitments you made 3 years ago that no longer serve you. You can't design the life you actually want if you're trapped in the life you accidentally built. So here's what I'm doing in 2026. I'm launching the 2026 Practice Growth Mastermind. But this isn't your typical mastermind about how to see more patients or how to add more revenue streams. This is about strategic disengagement before strategic scaling. It's about answering 3 questions. Number 1, what should I stop doing? Number 2, what should AI do instead? And number 3, what should I do that only I can do? And then building the practice, the systems, and the lifestyle around those answers. We're going to work through mental contrasting on every aspect of your practice. We're going to identify the things you're good at and that are holding you back. We're going to create well-rounded endings for completed chapters. We're going to protect spaciousness while we build AI-forward systems. And we're going to do it together, because this isn't a journey you should take alone. The mastermind starts in 2026 when you're ready. It's a 12-month investment in yourself and who you are becoming. Have to become somebody different if you want to scale. What got you to here will not get you to the next level. Spots are limited because this is about deep transformation of a small number of health professionals who are ready to expand into what is next for their practice, not mass education. If you're interested, go to thedoctorsmentor.com/mastermind-2026. That's thedoctorsmentor.com/mastermind-2026 and schedule a conversation with me, Lori Barr. Because here's what I know. The practices that thrive in the next decade won't be the ones doing more of what worked in the last decade. They'll be the ones who have the courage to disengage from what's complete, integrate AI where it serves, and focus human effort on what actually creates value. Let me come back to where we started. That vision of me putting the photo album on the shelf. Here's what I've realized. Between my published articles, podcasts, books, educational courses, I've been writing volumes my whole career. And some of those volumes are complete, not abandoned, not failed, complete. And when you complete something, you have two choices. You can keep it open, keep adding to it, keep improving it, and keep performing. Or you can place it on the shelf with gratitude, honor what it represents, acknowledge that it's complete, and see what wants to be written next. I'm choosing the latter, not with everything, but with some things. And I'm inviting you to consider the same question. What in your practice, your career, your life is actually complete? Not failing, not broken, just complete. And what might emerge if you had the courage to let it be complete? Because here's the ultimate truth about strategic disengagement. It's not about doing less. It's not about giving up. It's not about retiring early or checking out. It's about the freedom to choose what comes next from a place of peace, not performance, from alignment, not achievement, from wisdom, not willpower. And in 2026, that might be the most important skill you develop. Thanks for listening to the Doctor's Mentor Show. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message on whatever platform you're on, or better yet, come join the conversation in the 2026 Practice Growth Mastermind. Until next time, remember, the ultimate luxury is freedom of choice, and sometimes the most powerful choice is to let something be complete. Remember, one idea is all it takes to change your world.
You're listening to The Doctor's Mentor, hosted by Dr. Lori Lee Barr. Podcast content is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purposes of curing, diagnosing, preventing, or treating any disease or medical condition. Information found or received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare, legal, or accounting professional. If you suspect you have a medical problem or you should have any healthcare questions, please promptly call or see your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and heed all directions and cautions that accompany products or services. Before using any strategies, activities, or products referenced in this podcast, consult with your lawyer, accountant, or medical professional. The Doctor's Mentor was created by Dr. Lori Lee Barr. It is owned by Peak Idea, LLC, Executive Producer, Dr. Stephen Dent, Audio-Video Engineer, Richard Dent. The company, Dr. Lori Lee Barr, and the producers disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about the qualifications or credibility of guests. Opinions of Dr. Lori Lee Barr are her own. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements from products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services mentioned. Remember, one idea is all it takes to change your world.
There's more to explore at thedoctorsmentor.com.